You got to give me one thing. I'm a scary judge of talent.
Adolphus Washington back-to-back plays.
The Detroit Pistons select Luke Kennard from Duke University.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Triple Double Podcast. This is Corey Albertson of Triple Double Prospects, along with Jason Morrow of 270 Hoops as our producer. And today's guest is Coach Ryan Fleming. Coach, what's going on?
Hey Corey, how we doing? Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Happy to have you on, man. You are the first player who I ever evaluated who is on the podcast. So that's got to mean something, right?
That's got to be big time.
Yeah, I was in preparing for this today, I was looking back at a video that you and me did after your state semifinal game when you guys beat Toledo Central Catholic. And I was just thinking like, man, we both look so young. So can't stop time.
Yeah, look a little different in that 8 years, but yeah, you did an unbelievable job of covering all that stuff. That was, to me, it seems like just when you got this whole thing rolling. So happy to come full circle here in 8 years. Yeah,
absolutely. I appreciate that, and I always tell people that was my first year, and my first year, you guys won the state and Taft won the state, and everybody was really, really good in Division I, and I thought it was going to be like that every year, and it kind of went on a downward spiral a few years in where the Cincinnati teams weren't doing so well, but it's really picking up, and I'm excited for what the future brings down here.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a good time to cover Southwest Ohio basketball right now. There's a lot of good teams and players and coaches, so you got that thing rolling, and here we are today.
Absolutely. Well, speaking of coaching, for those who don't know, Coach Ryan Fleming is the newly named head varsity coach at Summit Country Day High School in Cincinnati, Ohio, taking over a program that has been to the D3 regional tournament 6 times in the last decade. Prior to landing his first head coaching position, Ryan was assistant coach under Cincinnati Oak Hills coach Mike Price, a legend of the area. And you played both at the high school and college level, including, like we talked about, 2011 Ohio Division I state champion LaSalle Lancers, where your father, Dan Fleming, was the coach. So I think with somebody like you as a high school player, no one was really surprised that you got into coaching. Is that right?
Yeah, I think so. It's I think the style of play that I had as a player, kind of everybody could see that coaching is something that I wanted to get into. And it has been ever since I was in high school. I was around the coach for my whole life, and learned a lot from him and his staff along the way. So it's a natural fit for me to go into coaching.
Everybody has been saying for years, Ryan Fleming is going to get a job. He's going to be like his dad. He's going to get an opportunity. And, you've been kind of patiently waiting. You've been pretty quiet about that. You're not the loudest guy in the room usually. But when you finally got, the call from Summit a couple months ago now or a month ago, and they told you were going to be the varsity head coach, I mean, what type of emotion did that bring on?
I couldn't stop smiling for a long time. When Greg Dennis, our AD at Summit, made that call to officially offer the job, obviously I was very excited. To tell you the truth, when you were going through the rundown and saying head coach Ryan Fleming at Summit Country Day, it still makes me smile. I'm very proud to be the coach at Summit. This is a big deal for me. This is very important to me. Since I got the job and since I got some of the Summit gear, I haven't taken a Summit shirt off. Every day I've been wearing a Summit shirt. This is a big deal for me. I'm very proud to be here. It's an honor to be the coach at Summit. So, going through those emotions, obviously a ton of excitement. Getting to call my family and tell them that I was the head coach, and getting to call my wife and tell her, it's a pretty cool experience to go through that for the first time.
Well, and getting to that point, you took a path that maybe people didn't expect you to take, which is, when you finished playing, you didn't go over there to LaSalle and work for your dad. You worked for your dad's friend, Mike Price, at Oak Hills, and just, talk about the decision to, after learning from your dad for so long, go into work with Coach Price and what you learned there.
Yeah, so when I came back home from Memphis after playing at Christian Brothers, I knew that I wanted to coach somewhere, and my options were go to LaSalle and be with my dad, or go over with Coach Price and be with Oak Hills. And for a couple reasons, I chose Oak Hills. Obviously, number one, getting to learn under Coach Price is something that's pretty special, and there's not a whole lot of people better to learn under than him. And the second thing was, coming back, I knew a lot of what LaSalle was doing and a lot of what my dad was doing, and I didn't want. When I got my first job, I wanted to earn it. I wanted to go somewhere else and create a name for myself somewhere else, and not just think that I was handed a job because I was coaching under my dad and being a product of that. So being able to start my own story somewhere else, and I didn't want anybody to think that I got a handout, and I to me that's not the case by any means. Earning this job and winning this job was part of why I chose to go elsewhere, and it ended up paying off. Again, being able to coach under Coach Price for 4 years and Coach Greg Rolfes for 4 years has helped me in tremendous ways and made me look at the game a lot different than I saw when I came back from college. So I'm very appreciative of them. But again, just getting to learn under Coach Price and start something new for myself and not ride on my dad's coattails, so to speak, was a reason that I didn't go back to LaSalle.
It makes sense, but with your dad, being just like Coach Price, kind of one of the legends of their generation of coaching, having won a couple state titles. I mean, you've always talked when I've talked to you about how much it meant to be in the LaSalle community. So you're obviously going to take a lot of the things that your dad did as a coach and apply them with your own personality and your own way of communicating them. So what are some of the things from your dad that you're going to emulate when you're at Summit?
I think the number one thing that I learned while I was playing under him and being around his program for so long is that any time that you step on the floor, it's important. Any time that you are, whether it's practice, whether it's an open gym, whether it's a skill workout, whenever you are there, you are going to work. And it could be for an hour, it could be for 2 hours, whatever it may be. You are going to put in time, you are going to work, and we are going to get better. And one of his sayings is we're going to get this much better each day. And even if it's just a little bit better each day, we accomplish our goal. And, having that mindset of every day is important, every day is a day to get better, and never taking a day off. And as the head coach, he never took a day off. And that's one thing that I really plan to implement into my coaching style is, no matter what it is, when we're in the gym, we are going to get better and we are going to get to work. And having that mindset is so important every single day at any school, but especially a school like Summit where, everybody plays every sport. So when you do have those times, that time has got to be precious. That time has to mean something. It's got to be important. And we're going to get to work at those times where we're together. And the other thing is going to be unselfish basketball and an emphasis on defense. I think he's proven over his years that it doesn't take a whole lot of skill to win if you're going to guard somebody. And his teams have really proven that where, as long as you take care of the ball and as long as you guard somebody, you're always going to have a chance in the game. And, that's going to be the mentality of our program.
That sounds just like your dad. I remember running into him somewhere one time, and we were talking about who his next opponent was, and he said, Corey, they've got all these big guys, and I don't really want big guys. They just get in the way. So your guys, what LaSalle back with your team is, if you guys are going to defend, and you're going to move the ball, you're going to find a way, and that's kind of what really struck me about the guys that you played with there, and you guys had such a great group, and then your brother had such a great group too. Maybe not as many personalities with your brother's group, but I remember back to my high school coach at Summit, Rich Hoyt. When he got out of coaching, he developed a podcast back before anybody was doing podcasts back in like 2012, and he just had a couple of Cincinnati high school coaches call in once a week and would do a few minutes. And one thing he said with your dad on there one time was your dad was telling him that, the reason LaSalle was successful was because the kids such as yourself, such as Brandon Neal, such as Josh Lemons, you guys were all convinced that it was cool to play hard and it wasn't cool to, quote unquote, be cool and just kind of stride up and down the court, but that playing hard was cool. And, I remember talking to the guys on that team that won the state title, it was that you guys were kind of mature enough to understand that when you would talk about what it meant to win the state title, you would talk about, well, it goes back to, running in the hot summer, lifting weights, all that. And you guys understood that that's kind of what eventually drove you to what you guys accomplished, as players at LaSalle.
Right. Absolutely. All that. When you get to a point like that, you can look back and you can see with some success how that stuff does pay off. Luckily we were able to see that 8 years ago, that stuff is why you're good. That stuff is why you win. And, so a lot of kids don't get the opportunity to win their last game of the season. And when you do that, you're able to look back and say, all those tough days having an open gym with Taft and all those tough days doing conditioning, it's all worth it. And sometimes when you don't have that, when you're not able to win the last game of your season, it's hard to put that in perspective. But, when you have a coach that's willing to push you and that wants you to be good and that wants you to be better than you think you want to be, that's pretty special. And you talk about, being at a program like LaSalle, being at a program like Oak Hills, the two that I've been under, and now moving on to Summit, I hope to have that same mentality, that same mindset where, this is hard, this is work, but it's all going to be worth it when we're cutting down a net or, when we're having a big rivalry game.
And I think all of those programs have something similar. When you look at Summit, it's a smaller Catholic school. When you look at LaSalle, it's a smaller Catholic school in comparison to Moeller, Elder, St. X. You guys don't have the numbers, or St. Ignatius, St. Edwards, maybe you guys don't have the numbers, even though you're still Division I. Oak Hills, great program under Coach Price, but if you're just being honest about it, year in and year out, they don't maybe have the talent of a Middletown, a Princeton, or a Lakota East in their league. And, those teams have found a way to win. And when I was kind of writing down stuff as to, what needs to happen at Summit, I think part of it, like you said, is that commitment to it. And you've got to do that with multi-sport kids, but you can find that commitment. But the other part of it is belief in something bigger than yourself. And that goes back to what we talked about with, maybe you've got to play 5 small kids and they've got to accept a role, or, maybe a kid who's, used to start and has to come off the bench for a younger guy. And I think as somebody who's won a lot of games and been at winning programs, that's something that, you're ready to instill at Summit.
Absolutely. And one of the core values that we're looking to instill in our guys is unselfishness. When you can buy into something, when you can be about something that's bigger than yourself, no matter what, you're going to be successful. And getting guys to buy in and getting guys to believe is such an important part of coaching. And getting guys to buy what you're selling is key. And I think, right or wrong, I think if those guys buy into what the program is selling, you're going to be successful in multiple different ways. And I think even with smaller numbers, even like you said, a smaller private school, Summit is a place where, kids come and they want to be disciplined and they want to win and be disciplined in what they do. And so building that unselfishness, building that all-in mentality, making Summit basketball a priority in your life and making that program a priority in your future, not just while you're at Summit, but while you're post-Summit, is so big to me. One of the things that I always take from one of the lines that I like to use from Coach Davenport down at Bellarmine is he always says that his guys play for Bellarmine, not at Bellarmine. And, when you have that sense of these guys come into Summit, they want to play for Summit. They want to be proud of that. That means something to them, not just playing at Summit. There's a big difference in those two things, and that's something that we're striving for at Summit.
Yeah, it's a tremendous line. I'm definitely going to remember that. And despite being young for being a varsity head coach, you have experience in that. You said you've been around it your whole life. And one thing coming from LaSalle and now being at Summit is you understand kind of in Cincinnati, Southwest Ohio, and really all of Ohio. Cleveland is great with this too. Is the fan base and the community around the parochial schools, and you see it with LaSalle, Moeller, X, Elder, and ultimately as a coach, you're gonna do your best to get your guys better. You're gonna help those kids grow, but in terms of winning and losing, some of it's gonna come down to just who has the better players year in and year out. But in terms of engaging the community, what can you do at Summit to get the whole student body and the adults around it excited about Summit basketball?
I think first and foremost is to be seen. The basketball players and the basketball coaching staff, you need to be seen in the community. And that doesn't just mean going to 7th and 8th grade games. That means getting into the youth games, getting into football, being seen at soccer. Our soccer program has tremendous success, and leading that charge with that soccer team to show winning's important and Summit is important speaks volumes about you and about your program. So being seen, being out in the community, drawing up that excitement about the basketball program is step one. And step two to me is putting a brand out on the floor that people respect. Putting a style of play, putting a style of basketball play out on the floor that people respect and they want to watch. To me, guys diving on the floor, guys taking charges, guys giving up their body for a team and for something bigger than themselves is a brand that is exciting. It is a brand that people want to see. Oftentimes the oohs and ahs come from the 3-point shots and the dunks, but if you're being realistic about it, the toughness, the unselfishness, people enjoy that type of basketball. And like you said, not every school has the athletes to be able to do certain things. Every school has the athletes to give up their body. Every school has the athletes to be tough and give max effort in what they do. Guys just have to buy in. And that brand of basketball and the community of Summit and what Summit is about, it is something that should draw attention and should gain some excitement from that unselfishness, from that max effort every time you step on the floor.
And that's really, when you look at a program like a Summit, you take Kevin Johnson, who played at University of Cincinnati, played professional basketball, or is playing professional basketball, and there's going to be very, very few of those guys, and there's going to be a whole lot more guys who are average athletes that find a way to contribute to the team, and that's how LaSalle was too, and that's ultimately how your brother and you played. Maybe not the greatest athletes, but could get a hell of a lot done on the court. And speaking to what you talked about and showing yourself at the middle school, junior high games and everything, and obviously I know the AD there, Greg Dennis. He was there when I was in school and kept in touch with him for many years. And one thing I know he's huge on is, at the starts with a school like Summit, it starts in the 7th grade and it goes through to 12th grade. It doesn't start when a kid, enters the varsity team as a 10th grader or an 11th grader.
Yeah, and that's one thing that's so cool to me and so attractive about Summit is that not many private schools have that 7th and 8th grade where it's a feeder for you. And a lot of public schools have that ability to have multiple middle schools that they're in charge of and they can pull from. And with at Summit with a private school, that's kind of rare. And that's one thing that's really interesting and really cool to me because those guys are in the building, and not only are they in your building, they're on the same campus. And when you have the ability to see those guys at practice every day, to be able to stay in contact with those guys that are within your program already as a 7th and 8th grader, that's something special. And I think, when you take a job like Summit, you don't take it to be the varsity coach. You take it to run that program. And one of the cool things that we're actually doing, and Greg Dennis is behind it, is getting a new locker room, and the locker room is for 9 through 12. It's about a program. It's about a total group effort. And when you have that segregation of just 11th and 12th graders or just the 9th grade team, that breaks up that all-in family atmosphere. So we're blessed to have that brand new locker room to bring in everybody together 9 through 12. And again, being on campus with those 7th and 8th graders is something special. and being able to build a relationship with those kids is something that's very important to having some success from 7th through 12th grade.
And one other thing you mentioned, and it rings true for probably 95% of high school programs, whether you're a rural school that's smaller or a city school with a smaller enrollment, unless you just have a massive enrollment. You got to have kids that play multiple sports. And I think winning, I know everyone knows that winning is contagious. And when you look at, the soccer program at Summit, they win. So those kids, when they go play basketball, they expect to win. Those kids, when they go play baseball, expect to win. And that's the same as it is at LaSalle, as it is at Moeller, as it is at many schools around the state. And, how do you go about, interacting with other coaches at a place like Summit to, make it so it's a great winning culture for kids in all sports?
So the first thing that I did the week that Greg told me that I was the head coach at Summit was get in contact with Coach Isaacs and Coach Severing, and that's a football and soccer coach, and just to talk to those guys and introduce myself and build that relationship, because when you have programs in your school in the same athletic department, when you have schools like Summit where soccer, like you said, soccer always wins, they're always competing for a state championship, that's contagious. And those expectations are for each sport. So like you said, when those soccer players come over to basketball, they expect to compete, they expect to win. And again, that's something that's so attractive about Summit, because each athlete that you get, they're a competitor, they're hungry for success, and they expect success. And, when you have multi-sport athletes that have that mindset, that go from soccer to basketball to baseball or football to wrestling to track, whatever it may be, and they're expecting success and they're hungry for success, each program benefits that. Each program gets to reap the benefits of competitive kids, hungry kids that have a desire to win. And when you have that for a whole school, for a whole program of athletics, that's something that's pretty special.
Well, that's exactly what I think will be the tool to continue to take Summit to the next level, and it's been something that's been on the rise. And when Greg told me that you were going to be the one taking over, I was very excited for a number of reasons. And obviously I respect what your father's done, and I'm excited for what you're going to do. So I just want to thank you for taking the time to come on the podcast, and we're going to be looking forward to seeing your team this coming December.
Yeah, I want to thank you for reaching out and allowing me to get on here and talk a little bit. And, I hope that our basketball program will continue to make alumni like you proud. And, we're going to be tough, and we're going to be physical, and, we're going to compete. So, again, thank you for having me on, and hope to see you around at a few games this winter.
All right. Well, guys, that was Ryan Fleming, new coach at Summit Country Day in Cincinnati, Ohio, and we're going to be looking forward to following his teams in the future. For Jason Morrow, I'm Corey Albertson. That was the Triple Double Podcast. This podcast is brought to you by PlayEasy.com. For players, coaches, or casual athletes looking to book a sports facility, as well as owners and managers of sports facilities, PlayEasy.com is the new one-stop site for streamlined services. If you're looking for a place to practice, play, host your tournament, camp, or other, simply go to PlayEasy.com and create a booking request for your area. Your request will go out to surrounding facilities who will respond with their best offer. Once you receive the offer that best fits your needs, book the facility and you're ready to play. For facility owners and managers, PlayEasy puts the power in your hands to maximize the usage and visibility of your facility. Register your facility for free today at PlayEasy.com. PlayEasy.com is the booking site built by athletes, coaches, and facility managers, and is proud to help bring you the Triple Double Podcast. This podcast is also brought to you by Anago Cleaning Systems. Are you tired of struggling in a dead-end job? If so, Anago Cleaning Systems has what you're looking for, an opportunity to go into business for yourself, but not by yourself. With franchising opportunities available for as little as a $2,500 down payment, purchasing an Anago franchise has never been easier. Once you own your Anago franchise, you're licensed to clean commercial facilities all around the greater Cincinnati, Dayton, or Columbus areas with the support of Anago's sales, quality control, operational, and accounting staff. Call 513-332-0033 today for your opportunity to be your own boss and grow your own commercial cleaning company under the guidance of Anago's proven and successful system. Again, call 513-332-0033 to learn more. With Anago, your future starts today.